How's it going, guys? So, I've been playing a lot of GTA lately, and I know that a lot of people usually struggle to make money on GTA, so I figured I'd make a video kind of explaining how I make my money, because I never really had a good way of making money until I started doing this. And so, the way I make money is generally off of stunt racing. Doing heists has always been the main way to make a lot of good money in GTA 5, but unless you have a lot of friends to do it with, which I know a lot of people usually don't have a ton of friends playing GTA anymore, it's usually pretty difficult to do a heist. Playing with random players is always really sloppy. That's why today I'm here to talk about a way to make a good amount of money by doing stunt racing that I haven't really seen other people do. I haven't seen a lot of videos on YouTube that are actually about making money stunt racing. It's more about how to stunt race in the fastest way possible or something like that. But I haven't seen a lot of videos explaining, you can make a lot of money by doing it. And if you do it the right way, you can. So that's why I'm doing this video. I want to at least put it out there that you can do this. Now, it may seem like a somewhat unconventional way to make money, which is probably why people never make videos about it. Although, like I said, if you do it right, you could definitely make a lot of money doing this. To start out, especially if you don't have any cars, and if you don't have any supercars that you can play with, or at least any fast cars, I would definitely start out racing in non-contact with custom cars off. Doing that, you're going to be able to level out the playing field. Everyone's going to have the same cars that you can pick from. There's not going to be any bullshit with the slipstream or catch up. I mean, if you get out in front, as long as you don't crash, you're out in front. As you can see here, double money and double RP is active. Therefore, I've accumulated a good amount of money from this 3-lap race. Once you do start making a lot of money, it would be wise to get yourself a good car if you're going to continue to stunt race. And I'll go over all the different cars later on in the video. Okay, so first off, the best way to start out stunt racing, as I said earlier, is to host your own lobbies. The key to this is patience, though. You gotta wait for people to actually come into your lobby. There will be a lot of times where one person to come in or two people to come in, and they'll just get impatient and they'll leave. You can't do that. Sometimes you're not gonna get people all at once, so you gotta wait for some people to come in, and then a lot of times matchmaking will just throw in a bunch of people. Again, the settings for the races are important. Make sure you have non-contact set and custom vehicles off. That, for beginners, that is crucial. Otherwise, you're going to get blown away by people who have really fast cars that are going to be way faster than you. Plus, people don't like to play clean. If you're trying to get money, you got to play clean. And there's no way to do it during contact. There's almost no way to do it. Mostly because people try to hit you on purpose all the time. Another reason non-contact is really great is catch-up is automatically off along with slipstream. That is awesome because if you get out in front and you're doing a really good job, like you are in this fucking race, you don't have to worry about them catch-up slowing down your car to 80%. As long as you don't crash and you were in the race, I mean, you won. Every time I'm racing for the money, I always make sure that I host it in non-contact because there's so much bullshit that happens in contact races. Even if it's not on purpose, you can still get bumped and hit off the track. Happens a lot. It's really obnoxious. Once you get in the race, there are a few tactics you can use to gain an advantage against the other players. Now, I'm not going to be going over this extensively, but I will show you a few of the techniques that I use and that most people use. Now, one of the techniques is called curb boosting. Now, curb boosting is really effective, probably the most effective way to gain an advantage over the other racers, I would say. Considering how much curbs are usually in the race, there's usually curbs throughout the whole entire race. Now you can see here in the beginning of the race where I start curb boosting, and I shot ahead of everybody. Everybody is behind me. If you do this the whole race, you could get a 10-second, 15-second lead on everybody if you do it right. And that's just one of the techniques. Another technique that's really good has to do with the tunnels. Now there are multiple ways that you can use the tunnels to your advantage. I almost never drive on the bottom of the tunnel. I'll drive up on the side because normally your car will pick up speed faster when you do that. Now, I don't know why. It doesn't really make much sense. But you do, for some reason. And that's especially important on the corners. The higher up you go on the side of the wall in the corners, the faster you'll come down. You can use that to gain a few seconds on your opponents as well. Not only is driving on the side very important, but there are a lot of times where in the tunnels, you have to slow down And there's also a lot of times where there'll be jumps in the tunnels. Now you can exploit those by either doing a loop-de-loop in the tunnels or going up on the side. Here's one example in the race wall climb where there's a jump, but I go up on the side anyways, and it actually saves me quite a bit of time. I don't lose any speed, and I actually gain a few seconds in the leader. Now there are races like Raton, I think that's how you say it, where you have to go up on the ceiling. If you don't do a little loop-de-loop in this tunnel right here, your car is just gonna jump and it'll hit the ground and you'll lose a lot of speed. So I highly recommend for stuff like this to go up on the loop-de-loop. Gauntlet is another race in which there's a lot of tunnels, and going around the tunnels rather than just going on the side or going through them is gonna save you a lot of time. The last thing I wanted to hit on was shortcuts. Now, there isn't shortcuts in every race, at least that I know of. But there are a lot of places in some of the races which you could just totally avoid jumps and still, be going where you need to go. One of the races I'm going to show you is Liftoff. Now in this race, at the end, there's a jump and then there's the finish line. You can totally avoid that jump. If you just go off to the side, you can totally avoid it and save a few seconds because you're not going to be having any airtime. Now that is really useful because in close races where someone's right up your ass, you can just totally avoid it, and if they hit that jump, as long as you don't crash into the wall on your way down, you won. Again with Raton, after the finish line, there's a jump, but after that, the track goes up and there's a lot of speed. There's like 3 or 4 speed boosts. Most people just go right through it. Most people hit the speed boost and then they'll jump. They'll go off and they'll jump. What you want to do there is you want to slow down. You're going to lose speed, and while that might seem like a bad idea, it actually isn't, because once the other people are landing, you're going to be flying past them. Even if you don't curve boost, you're still going to be going faster than they are once they land. Now, I can tell you all these things, but really, the best way to go about your races is to go out and actually learn the tracks. Once you learn the tracks and you know everything about them, it's going to make it so much easier than me just telling you, do this, do that. So I would highly recommend going, maybe even doing a few time trials before you even race, just to make sure you've got this race, you've got these tracks in your head. Like if you know what's coming up next, you don't have to worry about coming around a corner too quick and smashing into the wall. Learning the races is very important. Once you've been racing for a little bit, once you've generated a lot of money, I'd recommend going and getting some cars. Now, from my observations from racing, I can tell you that probably the best all-around car is the Nero Custom, which is actually the car that I have. But there are some races where you'll need more traction. Like there are some races that have a ton of corners and not a lot of straightaways, which you can manage with the Nero Custom, but it's difficult. And you got to be good with it. You got to take your corners right, otherwise you're going to fuck it up really bad. I've been there a lot. So trust me when I say you'll want a really fast car with a lot of traction, and you want the Nero Custom because it's just great on any track that has straightaways. As far as money-wise, I would say the Turismo R and the Zentorno is your best way to go because they're still really fast cars. They'll get you what you need to do, but they're not a ton of money. Like the Zentorno, I think, is like 700 grand, and then the Turismo R is 500 grand. As far as supercars go, that's not bad at all. Now, it's not going to get you first place if someone else has a Nero Custom, though. And it certainly isn't going to get you first place every time. You'll never get first place every time, no matter what car you got. As far as traction among cars go, I would say the X80 Proto and the RE7B are probably the best cars to have. Now, they're really expensive. The RE7B is a little less expensive than the X80 Proto. I mean, the X80 Proto is like 2.7 million. Obviously, a lot of people don't have that kind of money. Therefore, not a lot of people are going to have that car. The RE7B, in my opinion, is better. Because as far as traction goes, like it's not quite as fast, but as far as traction goes, you can fly around corners. It's so nice. The Wagner is also a really good car. That's a newer car. It's basically like the X80 Proto. It's just less expensive. It's a little slower than the X80 Proto, but it's basically the same thing. And on races that has a lot of corners, it can actually really rival the Nero. So that's not a bad car to have. So I think I hit upon most of the important things about stunt racing. I hope this was informative enough to give you an edge when it comes to racing. Now, in case you guys are interested in seeing how I drive in these stunt races, I've left Plummet 2 here so you guys can take a look. This is probably one of the most popular races that they have right now in stunt racing, and you'll probably see it a lot if you get into stunt racing. So that's all I've got for you. Enjoy going out and getting a bunch of money stunt racing.